This week, I fought a war against my subscribers. If you're new here, my channel is focused on making the game Politics and War more accessible. I make tutorials, guides, and history videos, and I annoy the people who want to be elitist. And with that in mind, I recently created an alliance named Castle Camelot for players without Discord. This was unusual since almost every alliance in the game requires its members to have Discord, except for TKR, which uses Slack. Disgusting. Some people agreed with me and created copycats, and others wrote hit pieces on the forums. Yeah, of course they're not building right, they're new. Trying to convince 200 people to do anything is like herding cats, and yeah, we're not scamming them. They agreed to donate some of their revenue to other members when they joined, unlike you, Mr. Nigerian Prince, whose allies are sending out these messages. Yeah, they'll get to City 30 in 2 or 3 years. I digress. So the hit piece inspired an alliance named Soldiers of Liberty to attack us, and they brought their friends with them. Allow me to introduce the Brethren Court. Soldiers of Liberty, a dictatorial democracy with a lot of members without Discord. Federated States of Orbis, a democracy that can't keep secrets, and whose leader was the 3rd subscriber to join my Discord. Yay. Roman Empire, an alliance that was literally scammed and sold by their last leader. United Amar, who's still annoyed that AC is using the word caliphate. AC, the aforementioned heretics, who are acting as mercenaries in this war. They're also the strongest alliance in Brethren Court. Sunray 1-1, a smaller group of mercenaries trying to copy AC. And Arg, the oldest pirate and mercenary group in the game. And in the other corner, we have my team, the Camelot Familia. Camelot would be mercenaries that haven't been hired and are therefore neutral. Castle Camelot, a swarm of noobs. Crimson Dragons, and the United Armies, which are both sort of protectorates. And the USSR, led by Mao Zedong. Yeah, Politics and War would give Alternate History Hub a run for his money. The number of alliances doesn't really reflect the military power of both coalitions. Brethren Court outnumbered us 5-1. In other words, I was or I would be if I even knew it was going to happen. Camelot had enjoyed more than 100 days of peace, so we knew another war would start soon. My concern was that a big alliance would attack us, like TFP, TKR, TS, any other alliance whose name began with the. Fortunately and unfortunately, I was wrong. And I wasn't even paying attention to Soldiers of Liberty and the others when they militarized and started planning their attack on us. I didn't hear anything about this war until literally 12 hours before it started. I'd been awake for 24 hours, and I was just completely unable to sleep. The blue light of the phone didn't help, and neither did the random message I received telling me we were going to be attacked. Turns out democracy is a fickle thing. Someone is elected to lead an alliance, and other people are not. Those other people can be resentful, and they can have a vested interest in seeing the new leader fail. And that is the story all about how, one by one, a traitor from literally every enemy alliance randomly sent me messages revealing their entire war plan. Ha! They've positively reinforced my insomnia. Now I'm never going to sleep. So I spoke with the High Government of Camelot, and we decided to fight the war. We could have given up, we could have hidden our resources, and we could have waited them out. But that's no fun. So when I looked at this war, I saw 5 alliances that were inexperienced and beholden to their membership, including democracies which could democratically depose their leaders. And I saw 2 mercenaries who I knew were so expensive they wouldn't be hired for long. What would you do? How would you win this war? Leave your plan in the comments after the video. I'll tell you what I did. I militarized Camelot as much as I could, roughly 40% to their 90%, and I attacked the mercenaries first. If the mercenaries were only hired for a week, then our mission was to make them as useless as possible, and their participation as expensive as possible. If the mercenaries attacked us, they'd lose a few $100 million and get paid $1 billion. If we attacked them, they'd lose $1 billion and they'd get paid $1 billion. The only way those mercenaries would keep fighting is if they got a raise, which is unlikely. The second reason I did this was that they were the strongest alliance in Brethren Court, so taking them down first gave us the best chance of winning. So how'd the Blitz go? It went okay. Turnout was pretty good, though some of our more experienced people were late. We told our allies about the enemy plan when we learned about it, but they didn't have much time to prepare, and they got rolled pretty quickly. Brethren Court counted for AC, and we did our best, but their numbers overwhelmed us. In the middle of our attack, then Hand of Fate joined in and attacked our largest member, Poo Poo, and prevented him from helping. It sucks, but they only attacked him, so it could have been worse. Day 1 was surprising for everyone involved. We learned about a war in Struck First, Brethren Court's war plans were trashed, and they were put on the defensive. And the rest of the community was shocked and confused why it was happening. Day 2 would prove almost as interesting. Kim, the leader of the Fear, was accused of leaking Brethren Court's war plans and not participating in the war as promised, and AC spoke with Camelot and agreed to exit the war the next day, since they only agreed to help Brethren Court in the initial attack. Almost all the mercenaries had deserted Brethren Court. Despite the fact a bunch of their allies were gone, Brethren Court was celebrating. They posted a series of declarations of war, saying we should be removed from the game, that our tyranny must be stopped, and that our members should be liberated. The Nigerian prince even wrote another hit piece saying Camelot was incompetent and Brethren Court were rising stars. Meanwhile, Camelot was also celebrating. The enemy mercenaries had left the war a week earlier than we planned. In our mind, the only threat in the enemy coalition was gone. And so, on day 2, both Brethren Court and Camelot told their members victory was guaranteed. Day 3 was like a hangover for Brethren Court. They partied too hard on day 2, and they were slowly remembering all the mistakes they had made, primarily allowing their members to win all their wars instead of expiring them. If you win a war, then the loser gets 2 days of beige, and beige means they're safe from attacks by other nations. If someone loses 3 wars, they can get 6 days of beige, and that's all they need to rebuild their entire military. Guess whose alliance got 6 days of beige? Yeah, Camelot's party wasn't stopping anytime soon. A doomsday clock had started for Brethren Court. Camelot was going to counterattack in 6 days, and without the mercenaries, then Brethren Court was likely to lose. Camelot started getting bold, myself included. We knew we were going to win, and our confidence was infectious. Even critics and rivals paused and supported us in this war, because it would be hilarious if we turned it around. A comeback like this hasn't been seen in years. There wasn't much diplomacy between Camelot and Brethren Court for the first few days of the war. There was some trash talk and some leaks, but nothing special. Everything changed when Camelot created an embassy for all the diplomats in Brethren Court. The embassy started with Camelot refusing to surrender, and progressed with Brethren Court demanding Camelot reorganize itself and disband Castle Camelot. The embassy wasn't too productive, until I had an idea. I asked Brethren Court for their full list of demands, and in a few hours, they provided it. I wanted to know exactly how much they'd try and take from us if they won, because when we inevitably won, we could demand anything on that list, or be the bigger person by not demanding anything at all. Here are the terms. These are public because someone leaked them, and the entire community found out. The terms were very greedy, considering Brethren Court could still lose the war. I'll break them down and summarize the community's reaction. Actionable goals instantly became a meme. Compelling me to participate in an interview and explain why they attacked us is just so stupid. And demanding we pay them tribute was, again, just far too greedy. Oh, and once the terms got leaked, then Sunway 1-1 left the war. That also involved them rejecting their original claims. Camelot was always a step ahead of Brethren Court, and that's partially because I've done a lot of research, but it's also because of our secret weapon. A weapon so secret that Camelot's members, Brethren Court, and the community didn't know it existed. Until this video. Camelot had a spy in Brethren Court's leadership. We learned about secret peace terms they wanted to impose on us. We learned about how long they could fund their war effort. We learned that Haidude, the Nigerian prince, was their grand strategist. Oh, and thanks to that grand strategist, we got a full list of Brethren Court's military units, including spies, the unit, unrelated to the broader spy effort. Brethren Court had a full list of our spies too, the units, so this just evened the playing field. And once it was even, we did great. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of the spy war or the other spy war. Sun Tzu. And before I forget, we also learned Brethren Court was trying to hire the mercenaries ARG for another round. We persuaded them not to do that, and to fight beside us instead. We also gained 2 new helpers, the former leader of Pantheon who joined the war effort from his own alliance, and one of Camelot's former members, the Shadow, who temporarily rejoined to have some fun. Time passed and we launched our counterattack. Camelot destroyed Brethren Court's units, and ARG swooped in to deal damage and steal Brethren Court's resources too. Within a day, we were winning the war, and I was waiting for them to surrender. United Amar asked for white peace, and we granted it to them because as far as we knew, they didn't plan the war. They weren't responsible. Roman Empire then asked for peace, which we were more hesitant to grant since they did plan the war, and they were potentially the people that had the original idea. But they were very polite, and we didn't want to stand in the way of them finding new allies, especially since they got scammed in the past. That left Soldiers of Liberty and Federated States of Orbis. At the start of the war, those two claimed that no one in their coalition would peace, and we said the same. We proved them wrong, and they proved us wrong by convincing the USSR to peace with them. We were just bombing infrastructure after that. FSO and Sol were guaranteed to lose. We just wanted to make their rebuild take as long as possible. FSO approached us for white peace a couple of times, and we refused and repeated they needed to surrender. Eventually they approached and explained how Sol was broke, and that FSO didn't want to fight this war, and was instead coerced into it. I may have also not wanted to, be mean to one of my subscribers. We agreed to let them white peace if Sol surrendered, and with that, the war was over. We won, and Brethren Court was fractured and apologetic. In the first draft of this video, I started it by asking whether democracy would spread by the sword or meet its end by it. Well, they failed to convert anyone, but they survived, so I guess the answer is postponed until their next war. In the meantime, Monarchy has triumphed. A good team with no voting process, but a lot of experience won. Just because people don't vote for leadership in this game doesn't mean they're not served by their leaders. And just because someone is elected doesn't mean they're the most capable. Honestly, the most powerful way of voting in this game is voting with your feet, by choosing the alliance that you think will suit you best, and whose leaders you're confident in. PNW governments do not reflect real systems of government at all, so I'm only talking about the game here. I thought this war was really fun. It had a lot of twists and turns, and it could have gone either way. The community recognized that too, and it was divided between Team Camelot and Team Brethren Court. These alliances are not used to being liked by the big ones. In fact, they're usually spat upon. So yeah, the war was remarkably positive for both sides. It's also worth mentioning this. There have been a lot of discussions between the greatest diplomats and robots about how the game needs to be more interesting. People want there to be reasons behind their wars. They want the wars to be shorter, they want alliances to act more independently, and they want more people involved in the game's diplomacy. I cannot think of any other war which exemplifies all these wishes. Oh, and only a small percentage of people that watch my videos are subscribed, so yeah, let's change that.